Alright, good morning people of YouTube. So this time we're back with another deck profile for BT16. This time we have TyrantKabuterimon, but with a little bit of a twist. So I started building this deck in more of the traditional sense, and then I started looking at the Double Typhoon cards, and I started looking at some of the cards from this set, and then this deck just kind of came to me. I understand that some people have experimented using the Rhino Kabuterimon to evolve into the Tyrant for a little bit cheaper, but I haven't seen anything quite like this yet. So if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's talk about some of the things that make this deck tick. So Tyrant, in and of itself, is a really big Digimon. It has an all-turns effect that says, while it is suspended, it is unaffected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon, which makes it incredibly difficult to remove, except for by options. It has a really neat when Digivolving effect that allows you to play an Insectoid or a Larva trait Digimon from your hand, with the play cost reduced by 8. So you could even do this to play another TyrantKabuterimon for just 6 memory. You could play something like the Metal Life Kuwagamon for free, any of these two level 4s. You can play another Rhino for just 1. And then it has a really cool end of your turn effect that lets you suspend one of your other Digimon, and then you return something on your opponent's board with less DP than the Digimon that you suspended to the bottom of their deck, which makes this a really effective removal card in a deck that has a lot of go-wide strategy. You have the Double Typhoon to play more bodies, you have the ukkomons to get extra promotes. This Terriermon will let you play JP for 1, and then the JP can turn into a Digimon for just 1 memory. The ukkomon's finding you extra pieces, the Beetlemon's finding you extra pieces. This is just a deck that has a lot of gas and a lot of go power. So let's go ahead and just start off with the Digitama. We are playing 4 of the new Gummymon that lets you, if you have a green Tamer, when attacking, draw a card. Very easy to do in this deck. Your ukkomon searches the Tamer, your Terriermon plays the Tamer. A lot of times you have that Tamer, so you want to be drawing your pieces. That way you can get all of your cards into your hand so that you can establish that full combo. And then the last egg that we are playing, because we are playing 8 Ukkos, is going to be the Tanemon from BT11 that says if you play a green Tamer, you get to draw a card. Combos really well with the Terriermon, and it's just a really effective egg. We are playing a lot of Tamers in our deck off of this Terriermon effect, or just hard dropping them in the early game while we're establishing value off of our rookies. So this is a really effective piece, especially in the early game, to draw more cards. Going into the level 3s, we are playing our 8 ukkomons. This is going to give us a lot of aggression in the early game and make it so that we can keep evolving in the back for very little resources and keep cycling. Not only that, but if we can keep getting a promote every turn, then this ukkomon is going to let us search a Digimon or Tamer from the top 3 cards of our deck, and then get an additional hatch, which makes it really nice. This is really effective at searching all of your Tamers, and most importantly, the Tyrant, because you need effective ways to grab this card, and this ukkomon and the Double Typhoon are your main methods of doing that. So making sure that you can promote every turn is something that's very important to do whenever you're playing with this deck. So we have these 8. This one gives us extra memory. This one costs a memory to go into in the back, but gives us a search. My favorite turn when playing the deck is if I'm going first, evolve Terriermon in the back, and then hard slam this BT16 Ukko. So that way on my next turn, I'm going to get a search for a Tamer or a Digimon. This Terriermon will let me play a Tamer, and I'll be able to evolve again in the back. So I like this a lot. And then for the rest of the rookies, it is going to be the starter deck duo. We have the 3 copies of the Lopmon from starter deck 17 and 4 copies of the Terriermon from starter deck 17. Terriermon's just really effective at getting all of our pieces in play, and this Lopmon is really cool to give us alliance, especially on a body as big as Tyrant. Being able to play this for free off of the Double Typhoon is really cool and kind of dumb. These inheritable effects don't come up as much. You will very rarely Digivolve on top of these dudes, but it is important to note that they do have inheritable effects that make your suspended dude a little bit bigger. So that is nice, but having 15 rookies means that we are making full value of our breeding phase every turn. Going into the hybrids, I am electing to play 7. I did cut down on one beetle since both of these evolve off of our Tamers for 2. This one, the Metal Kabuterimon, lets us play a little bit more effectively into Shine Greymon Ruin mode, while this Beetlemon reveals 5 and adds specifically our hybrid support. So there are a lot of times where you don't want to send a bunch of pieces to the bottom of the deck, which is why I'm playing this 4-3 split. Not only that, but this Metal Kabuterimon can suspend something if evolved off of a JP or another level 4 hybrid, which is really nice, which can combo with this Izzy, or some of our other effects, meaning like letting our Tyrant like swing over some dudes with piercing because JP's inheritable is piercing, which is really nice. I really like this hybrid split, and it's something that I think I'm going to stick with for quite some time, as long as I'm not making full value of evolving off of these, because you can still evolve this beetle off of a Terriermon or a Lopmon and still get a search if you need JPs or like this Rhino Kabuteri. Like if this Rhino's the only piece you're missing, then definitely do that. And it is important to note that you can do that. But now going into the insect package, I am playing one of the Blade Kuwagamon and one of the Promo Kuwagamon. Mostly because I only own one of the Promo Kuwagamon and I don't want to test with cards that I don't have. At least not cards that I don't intend on picking up. But this is an interesting card. This is a tech against like Magnamon X, because if you target it, then whenever the effect rolls over, then it will be affected by this, meaning they can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So they will have to like manually activate a Blinding Ray in order to turn the Magnamon back on, which is, it forces their hand, which is kind of nice. But honestly, this Promo Kuwagamon seems like one of the most cuttable cards in the deck while I'm testing. I'm considering dropping this for another Grand Kuwagamon Ace, possibly another Rookie, or even potentially another Tamer, but time will tell. I'm still want to test with this card a little bit more before I make that decision. Its inheritable effect is nice. And something to note is that with all of your level 4s, they are all either Insectoid or Hybrid, which means all of the time you will be able to trigger Rhinos when attacking effects, which is why I'm not including cards like the starter deck Rapidmon in the deck, even though I could very well play it. And then the last of the small little insect package that I play in my lower end is going to be 3 copies of the Metal Life Kuwagamon. The 3 of this card and the 1 of the Blade Kuwagamon are ensuring that my Tyrant is hitting numbers that exceed 18k if I am playing against the Magnamon X matchup. And it's pretty easy to do that. This card is absolutely fantastic, and I really, really like the just dropping a level 5 off of Tyrant's effect for free, getting a suspend, getting a DP buff, and then if my opponent tries to do something against this card, I can just kind of like blast evolve into the Grand Kuwagamon, which is nice. And then we are playing, for the last of our level 5s, we are playing 4 copies of the Rhino Kabuteri. It evolves for 1 if you have a hybrid in your source, which is really cool. So something you can do is evolve JP into hybrid for 1 memory, hybrid into Rhino for another memory, and then swing with Rhino, and then evolve into Tyrant for 3 memory. So that's 5 memory you spent total, and you had nothing in play other than a JP, and you went into a level 6 and another body because Tyrant will play something, and you're going to get the end of turn bottom deck, and it snowballs advantage from there. And chances are you did a bunch of chip damage in the early game because you play 15 rookies and 7 hybrids, so it's a really, really effective strategy to start snowballing the deck. So we did already go over Tyrant a lot. We are playing 4 of it as the main boss monster. The other level 6s are kind of up in the air, though. I've seen a lot of people talk about Shivamon going into this format, because you can drop Shivamon off of Tyrant's effect. Tyrant's effect will let you suspend the Shivamon, and then you will have suspended Digimon, like all your Digimon will be suspended, so your opponent can't play options on the following turn, which means your Tyrant is unaffected by Digimon effects and options, which is really good. Shivamon also has a somewhat aggressive effect that says if you become unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security, which is really nice. Lets you keep putting on aggro while you're controlling the board off your Tyrant play. And yeah, it's a good card. I don't know how much value options are going to have in a Magnamon X format, so I don't know if people will keep playing removal options in their deck. And if people stop playing removal options in their deck, then this card becomes less valuable. So this card is a meta call. Play this if you anticipate a lot of removal options. Do not play this if you don't. The one that I'm leaning a little bit more towards is the Grand Kawagomon Ace. This is Suspend 2, Digimon or Tamers. A card suspended by this effect cannot unsuspend during their next unsuspend phase. And then you delete a suspended Tamer. Not only that, but your turn, if this Digimon becomes suspended, one of your Digimon gets security attack +1 for the turn. Which means that you can do a bunch of crazy things with this. Like, you can Alliance with this and then give Sec Attack up. Like, you can give the Alliance to the Lopmon, swing Lopmon, tap the Grand Kawagomon Ace to make this Lopmon 13k, and then Grand Kawagomon give the Lopmon Sec Attack up. So that way, if the Lopmon dies into security, you aren't risking overflow, which is kind of cool. I really like this card. I think this card is pretty valuable, especially since this deck is dropping level 5s for free at the end of your turn or whenever you're going into Tyrant, which makes Blast Evolving a little bit more beneficial. So I would actually consider dropping the Shiva and upping this card, but I did want to present you the Shiva option for the sake of this deck profile. The only option I'm playing in the deck is Double Typhoon, and that's just because you read this card, and this card looks like it was printed for green hybrids. Searches a green Digimon and a green Tamer. Sick. That's what green hybrids is all about. So, not only that, but it has a really cool security effect. Being able to drop Terriermons and Lopmons for free off of the delay is really nice, especially when you're pushing tempo. Like, the turn you're going into Rhino, you can do this, drop the Lopmon, swing Rhino, trigger Alliance on the Rhino, and then trigger the when attacking to go into a Tyrant that has the Alliance buff, and you're just all hunky-dory from there. I really like this card, and it's just really good in this deck. For the Tamers, I did want to include at least 10. The two ones that seem mandatory are the JP, because this card is just such cheap aggro. Like I said, getting a body in play for 2 memory total, the one that you spent playing this off of the Terriermon effect, and then 1 for this to go into a Beetle or a Metal Tyranno, or Metal Kabuteri is really nice. This is a really effective card, and the inheritable effect of Piercing is just great, especially on bodies as big as some of the ones that you're getting in this deck. And then we're playing 4 copies of the BT16 Izzy, because this card is Analog Man, but for bugs. Being able to redirect attacks into a Machine Dramon, Machine Dramon is the one that redirects attacks with Analog Man, but you can do that same thing with this Izzy and your Tyrant. Something that's really cool as well is this deck also has that effect on an inheritable effect. This Metal Life Kawagomon does have that Izzy effect, but as an inheritable, which means that you have a bunch of different ways to force multiple instances of this to activate, which is really cool, especially since you can turn this on with Blast Evolving, because if your opponent sees this, they go, okay, cool, this inheritable isn't live. Well, then you can Blast Evolve, and then the next time they swing after you've done that, this effect is suddenly live. So that's pretty cool. And what can I say? It's just a really nice card. So I really like this Izzy. And then the last 2 Tamers are kind of personal preference. I'm playing 1 copy of the starter deck Izzy from ST4. You could choose to include more copies of this. This card gets you extra memory back whenever you're doing plays off of your Metal Life Kawagomon, your Tyrant, your Metal Kabuteri. Like, anything that suspends something that your opponent has will get you a memory off of this. Not only that, but because it's a 2-cost Tamer, this Terriermon can actually play it for free, which is really nice. Super cheap. It's a really effective way to get a body into play, especially since having cheap Tamers that you can evolve on top of is really cool. And then I do play the 1 copy of Taiga. So I think I really like this card in my testing, right? Because this card puts a lot of your bugs to better thresholds. It makes Alliance better. It means that your Ukkomon are swinging over their Ukkomon in the Ukko Ditto, which the Ukko Ditto is going to come up a bunch. Not only that, but if you're at 1 memory, then you can do a full Tyrant line if you have this card and the JP established, which is sick. Being able to go level 4 into Rhino and then suspend this, and then that Rhino is free, is insane. But I really like the DP buff. I think especially since we are playing a format where you're swinging with all these rookies, having a 3000 DP rookie is actually pretty good into an armor format, because they're playing like 16 to potentially more rookies in their deck, and then you have like a 2 in 5 chance of actually swinging over their stuff, which is pretty cool. And yeah, this is it for the Tamer line. I kind of want to consider bumping this Tamer count up to 11, but I don't know what to do. The only cut I'm considering making is cutting the promo Kawagumon for another Tamer, and then cutting the Shiva back for a second Grand Kawagumon Ace. But this deck could also play things like Quartzmon. There's just a lot of things that you can do in this deck. You could choose to include like a couple Rapidmon and maybe a Mega Gargomon Ace. Like, there's a lot that this green deck has access to, and this is something that I kind of built and was really excited to bring to you guys, because I see the potential here. There's a lot of versatility here, and there's a lot of really cool plays this deck can make. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, how you guys are approaching building a deck like this, and we will see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.